Security, escort this gentleman out, please.
Come on, Soda Pop, let's go. Hello, Scott Harrisman, Sioux Falls. So I was watching the news the other night, and there was a gentleman on there called Lon Clemenson. He was the guy that they're going to hire to work for the Development Foundation, a bureaucrat, to do the workforce development. I'm not sure if the council was aware that they giving money to the Development Foundation for workforce development, that they were going to hire a bureaucrat to take on this thing. I was concerned about some of the things he said. He said that Sioux Falls has competitive wages. Well, yeah, I guess if you're trying to decide if you're going to work for Rivera or McKinnon as a nurse, I'm sure those wages are competitive, or if you're going to work for Taco John's or McDonald's. But when compared to the rest of the nation, they are not competitive. He talked about quality of life, and he's right. We have a great quality of life here. But with quality of life comes also a living wage, and with the living wage comes a great quality of life. I'm very disappointed that a guy who hasn't even started his job yet, he said September 19th is when he starts, is already talking and trying to downplay wages in our community. Let's be honest here. That's number one. It's number one. It isn't about parks. It isn't about schools. It's number one. If we're going to attract people, they want to live a comfortable life. They don't want their kids getting a free meal at the school. They don't want their kids getting a free meal during the summer because they can't afford to buy them food. They don't want to go to a warehouse to get, mac and cheese. Got 40,000 pounds out there. They want to make a wage where they can live a comfortable life. That is number one. And I hope by the time he rolls into the office, he figures it out. Secondly, so I hear there are some people swimming at the aquatic center before it's not even open. I guess the explanation was they were checking security. Well, last I checked on a construction site, when I worked construction, we didn't check security or construction site in our swim trunks. I think it's disappointing that we have a publicly funded building and people are using it as a playland before we even get to go in there. And by the way, when is it opening? Nobody knows. But apparently it's good enough to go swim in there. And lastly, I want to remind all of you that we live in a democracy. And in a democracy, there's different levels of how voters and citizens participate. Number one, I encourage everyone to register to vote and to vote. If you don't, I really don't care what you have to say. Your opinion don't matter to me. Secondly, I don't know if a lot of you know this, but in Switzerland, the parliament has one of the easiest jobs in the world. They write laws based on what citizens tell them. And guess what? They don't vote on the laws. They don't pass the laws. They stick them on the ballot. And the Swiss people vote 4 times a year, and they pass the laws. And they take it real seriously. They're so serious in that country, they won't give you a citizenship if you wear sweatpants or pajamas in public. Pretty funny, huh? So I want to remind everyone, there's different courses of action. We have a city council that makes ordinances and laws. We have a petition and referendum process that makes ordinances and laws. Citizens, it's all important. They're just as important as the council or the mayor or anybody else passing any of this stuff. Sometimes we just blow off the citizens. Well, they elected me, so I guess it's my job to get things done. No, there's different steps in a democracy. There's different levels of a democracy. There's different ways of going about things. Sometimes we depend on the council. Sometimes we depend on the citizens. I want you to keep a clear mind of that with some of the things coming up. And to remember that there's some things that are above your pay rate. Thank you.
Thanks, Scott. Folks, did anybody else want to engage the council? Welcome.
Good evening. My name's Mary Steele. I live here in Sioux Falls, and I'd just like to, for a couple minutes, address the proposed city administration building and the sale of the sales tax bonds. There has never been a majority support of the elected city council members for this building. Both this council and the previous council voted in a 4-4 tie. Both times the building was approved only with the tie-breaking vote of the mayor as allowed by our city charter. The only time there's been a majority vote by council members was when the current council voted to stop the sale of the bonds to fund the construction of the proposed city administration building on a 5-3 vote. And when that majority vote of the council was finally reached, it was vetoed by the mayor. 63% of the council voted to stop the sale of the bonds, not forever, temporarily. 37% of the council voted for the bond sales to go ahead. According to the Argus Leader poll posted this morning, while not scientific, consistently, all day, the results have been and are at this moment, 61% want the bond sales to go to a vote, and 39% want the bond sales to begin. So, Mr. Mayor, the council's vote to stop the bond sales seems to be consistent with the will of the people. Your veto of the will of the council could be perceived as a veto of the will of the people. Mr. Mayor, if the city administration building is truly a good idea, is needed, and the cost can be justified, I believe that you will be able to make that case to the good people of Sioux Falls. I believe trusting the people who elected you to the office of mayor is the right thing to do. Mr. Mayor, I respectfully ask you to recognize the vote of this council and the will of the people and stop the sale of the bonds to fund the proposed administration building. I also ask you to allow this proposal to go to a vote of the citizens of this great city. And I want to thank all of you for your time and your service to the people of Sioux Falls. Thank you.
You're welcome, Mary. Thank you. Folks, did anybody else want to engage the council? Welcome.
Bruce Danielson, Sioux Falls. I prepared some information here. Just like to read it so I get it all correct because it's kind of technical. But I start out, we citizens of Sioux Falls are asking for fairness to process. We are asking first and then demanding through our signatures our right to be part of the decision to bond for an unnecessary office building. This initiative is completely legal and part of the process. Over 5,200 of our fellow citizens have signed petitions expressing their right to be upheld. This number I calculated earlier today. I haven't been able to gather everything from what's been handed in so far this afternoon, but we're getting close to our numbers. Our laws require when signatures are collected, submitted, and certified by the city clerk, the council is legally required to set an election date. This language is not permissive. It is mandatory. Once the signatures are collected and certified, the council shall and must set an election date. What the administration and the mayor may or may not do in the future, or in this case after October 1st, is irrelevant. We expect this council to follow the law and set an election date once the signatures are verified. In fact, the council could still set an election without our signatures. South Dakota law is clear. 9-20-4, presentation of initiative petition to governing bodies, submission to voters. When a petition to initiate is filed with the finance officer shall present the petition to the governing body at its first ensuing regular or special meeting. The governing body shall submit the petition to a vote of the voters in a manner prescribed for by referendum. And in this situation, our finance officer is replaced by a full-time city clerk. Our initiative, the process, and an election is completely legal and valid today and will continue to be valid until the mayor decides to make it illegal. I cite state law in this regard. 9-20-3. Ordinance may not be initiated to nullify bond purposes. The right to initiate an ordinance shall not be applicable to ordinances proposed to nullify the purpose for which bonds have been sold by a municipality pursuant to statutory authority. And I want to emphasize in this the key phrase in this whole thing for which the bonds have been sold. The earliest the administration and the mayor will be able to bond is October 1st. In fact, there is no legal requirement telling the administration to sell the bonds on October 1st or any time after. In fact, you can choose to never bond. By October 1st, we expect to have the signatures submitted, certified by the city clerk, and the council will have likely set an election date. This is a must and a shall. The decision is solely in the hands of you, Mr. Mayor. You can choose to honor the work, the effort, and the clear voice of the people and let an election take place, as they have so clearly have and are demonstrating they want. Or you can affirmatively choose to actively ignore the will of the people and bond over their clear objection. Remember, this process and the election is completely legal until you make it illegal. Let me make this clear. This process and election are completely legal, and until you act to make it illegal, the process should continue. We are only in this situation because a city council minority's lack of preparedness or indifference for the citizens has caused this to be an emergency bordering on the outrage of the people. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Danielson. Appreciate it.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Councilor.
if I may, I would like to remind the audience that part of our policy is that you do not speak directly to or about one of the council members. You talk to the whole council. You don't single somebody out, as the mayor just was done and individual councilmen were doing. Keep it generic, or you will be gavelled. Thank you.
Welcome. Good to have you here.
Manny Steele, Sioux Falls. I really hadn't planned on talking tonight, so I don't have notes. I just want to share how I feel. And I guess what you just said, I can't point out the leader of our group. So I just feel some that are sitting up here, I don't really feel have.
Mr. Steele, I truly apologize to do this to you because you are doing a great job. Folks, you're going to have to control yourself in a professional way. It's the right thing to do, not only to be respectful to Mr. Steele, who was speaking at the time, but also being respectful for the fellow audience members here tonight who are away from their families, away from their friends, trying to do the right thing, as well as being respectful for the council. And if you can't do that, we will ask you to leave. So thank you. We appreciate that, Mr. Steele. My apologies for interrupting. Please continue, sir.
Quite all right. It's appropriate for your place to do so, I guess.
Thank you, sir.
Anyway, it's about the administration building.
Yes, sir.
And I feel there are some sitting up here that their number one concern is not what the people of Sioux Falls want and are asking for. Now, as far as the city council, you represent your district. You represent the people that have put you there. I think the people have made it very clear what they would like. They would like to have a vote on this issue. And I've talked to a lot of people, and it's got to be 7 or 8 or maybe 9 to 1. And I can only think of one that was really adamant about we need this building. Not saying we don't need the building sometime. As we grow, we need. But the way where we're at right now, it's totally inappropriate to run this thing through. And I would certainly be disappointed, and I would have to question anyone who would vote against this in the sense of, are you representing your people? I would have to question that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Steele. We appreciate your comments and certainly apologize for interrupting tonight. Welcome.
Tim Stanga. It's just amazing that we come out with this, can't talk about one person over another person because then you'll get somebody mad, and it comes down to where the mayor comes out and he says, well, we got the troubled 5. Where was the city council when he came up and said, we got the trouble 5? When the mayor comes out and says that, where's the professionalism out of that? Or when he chastises some of the city council in a meeting or on TV or in the news media, where's the professionalism? I go out and take signatures from people, and I'll tell you what, nothing good to say about a lot of people. If there was an election today, I think there'd be 3 people gone, and I hate to say it, but somebody else would be gone too. They're so frustrated in this town, it isn't even funny. They're so divided. You sit and talk to a lot of people in town, and yes, I did take signatures. And I talked to a lot of people. And very, very frustrated on what's going on, how money's being spent. They're frustrated on the roads. They're frustrated on how money's being spent. You know, I had some guys tell me that the reason why we watch Channel 16 is because we watch public input and then we shut it off. Because they get more out of the public input than they get out of sometimes when the city council's talking. Good part about it is you can shake your head and you can smile all you want. People are watching you on TV, so remember that, Mayor. And like I say, you know, we're not doing this for our health. We're going out talking to people. It's just like running for city council. You're talking to people. You're seeing how people are seeing what's going on in town. They do say some good things about the new city council. They say that we're going the right direction. They say that we just got to keep going that direction.
Thank you, Mr. Stanga. Appreciate those comments.
Y'all come back now. Cheers.
What kind of morons run this outfit?